Okay, here's something I need to ask you guys because I'm going to talk about the veteran leadership on the team. And what I mean by veteran leadership, I not so much David Savard because he is a veteran. He we know his time is slowly dying down. Like he'll probably finish his contract with the Canadiens, and then after that, I don't know if he'll get another contract after that. So he knows there's only like maybe 2-3 years left of potentially whatever good hockey he could deliver. Okay. What I mean by the veteran leaderships on this team, I really mean guys like Josh Anderson and Mike Matheson.
Yeah.
So I think the debate is still going on whether Kent Hughes should have traded Josh Anderson at the deadline. He finally scored 20 goals with the Canadiens ever since being traded to the Canadiens. He's finally got the 20-goal mark. He's got 21 right now with the empty netter against Pittsburgh. I think lately, Josh Anderson has been the most notable forward consistently since a little bit before trade deadline came. And at the game at Colorado, like when I was watching the game, he was the only Habs forward that was noticeable. And Marty said that too. Like he's noticeable on a consistent level. Are the Canadiens better off keeping him in the long run, despite the contract and despite how much he's getting paid?
I would only say yes if we were in a situation to compete. I mean, where will he be in 4 or 5 years when we're starting? I think when we're starting to compete, that's a question. That's why I said at this point you can get assets and get the contract to get rid of it because he's playing well. I think he's been better than Suzuki since that point. He's been the best half forward. So the veteran presence is there, and it shows he wants to play with us. Just the only point is I think he's at a different point of his career. I don't know what his intentions are, but he can be on a team to compete while we're not competing. So that's the only reason why I would have still gotten rid of him, just because, not because of the player, just because of the situation Montreal is in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's for me. But he's been a hell of a hockey player last few weeks, really, since the deadline just before. He's been great.
Yep.
Yeah, I think if you noticed, he actually has, as long as Gallagher's out, unless it's something that I didn't notice, it seems as though it's him and not David Savard and not Mike Matheson. He's the guy who's wearing the A.
Yep.
He's had that slapped on his jersey, and it doesn't seem like it's coming off until Gallagher comes back. So you talk about leadership. I think Marty has clearly noted it and has mentioned his leadership being invaluable. I didn't want to trade him at the deadline. I thought that we were probably going to get the most from him this year. He's a guy that I worry about in terms of injuries. He's definitely, so far, so good. He stayed healthy. And what's reassuring is that even if we didn't trade him this year, I still think the guy is a fantastic skater. He's not a guy like, we love ripping on the guy Lucic, but one of the reasons why Lucic, lost any relativity in this league and his so-called dominance went from a tougher league to a faster, more skilled league. And although Josh Anderson doesn't have the skill, he's definitely got the speed. I don't see him losing his speed as long as he takes care of his shoulders. I'm hoping that he might not be around for that eventual run, but let him stick around for this gradual transition. Let him be there for when the younger kids come in. He's also a reassuring presence on the ice for some of the younger or smaller guys. I have no problem with him being here. Actually, I'm very welcoming, and I'm very thankful in hindsight that we kept him, simply put.
It's a good comparison, Chris, because I think Lucic is like probably the slowest in the league. He can start from the blue line from behind the net. I can go make a coffee, come back, he still won't be at the other end.
Well, it's just like you think about him being a dominant player. At one point in time, he was a scary player. Players had to be aware that they were going up against Milan Lucic. We're not talking about his fighting skill. He contributed. He was putting up points. He was just a player. Again, you're on the ice. You had to be aware that he was there. the contributions that he made in like the comeback against freaking Toronto to get the Bruins, deep into the playoffs when they had that amazing comeback against them in the third period. He just fell off the map. He left Boston and he was no longer, he got thrown between Edmonton, Calgary, and there was no shits given. It was a problematic contract.
Yeah.
So, Josh, I just don't see, again, Josh Anderson, the only little star that I'm going to put next to his name. He has to be careful about injuries. But as long as he doesn't injure his shoulders, fuck, man, the guy is going to be relevant in this league for a long time going forward because he is a one of a kind and he can move. He can move very, very well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like to speak of a guy who moves very well, Mike Matheson. Holy shit, this guy skates. He's like an angel on skates. It's so beautiful the way he moves. I'm serious. So like I thought Jeff Petrie was like a graceful skater when Jeff Petrie first came to Montreal. No, Mike Matheson beats him by a mile, man. Wow. And not only that, like he's really playing a good two-way game. Take away maybe the lack of quarterbacking skills on the power play, but other than that, like fuck.
No, he is. You can see
awesome.
why Hughes wanted him, right? And I said he was in the summer. I said he was an excellent skater. It's just he put up relatively good performances before being traded by Pittsburgh. So I was kind of happy with the deal. Obviously we wanted Jeff Petrie. We didn't want as much cap back, but we know in this league that wasn't going to happen. So we actually got a good return out of it. And I'm glad you brought on Sam. I think for the defense, at least, he stepped in as a leadership more than Edmondson and Savard has, in my opinion.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not just being the presence, but also, putting that on the ice, showing it. Not saying Savard or Edmondson have played bad. They've done all right, but Matheson has just stepped up even on the ice, and he's been tremendous to watch. And again, I just really wish for guys like that, we were just, we were more of a competitive team, really. For them to, as they're doing everything they can. It just, I hope it happens for them. But Matheson has really stepped up, and I'm happy to see the way he's playing.
I really think Pittsburgh might truly miss him this year in the playoffs.
I agree.
They make the playoffs.
I think they'll regret Petrie. I like Petrie, but he had a turnover in one of Montreal's goal tonight. He's still the same Petrie to me. I don't know, just something about him. His last couple of years in Montreal, he's transitioned, and maybe the habits went to Pittsburgh. Just some lazy playing and some turnovers. That I just never understand from the guy, and I don't know. I think they will miss Petrie.
Petrie since going to Pittsburgh every single time that Montreal played them, and we're talking about the Canadiens winning the season series. I think Jeff Petrie has been one of the main contributors to the fact that the Canadiens have won because he's played a bad game pretty much every single time that they've played against one another. But going back to Mike Matheson. The whole subject was leadership, aside from the known captains and leadership group. Mike Matheson, we said it last episode. I said it last episode. He had an underwhelming start. Really turned it around, especially after the second period of time that he missed. When he came back, he really, really stepped it up. But I think, again, it's just another excellent character guy on the team. But I think the thing that I'm looking, like, I see ahead in Matheson's future with the team, this is also going to be a guy who's not going to say anything about younger players taking more minutes. I think he's just such a good teammate all around. He not only, like I said, is he a reassuring presence, he's a guy that's dependable and has been more and more dependable towards the end of the season. I also just see him as a good human being who's not going to be jealous, not going to cause any problems, and he's going to be slotted wherever in the lineup, and you're not going to hear.
You'll just be happy. You'll just be happy he's there to play hockey.
Exactly. And I think that's the factor about him. Like, that would selflessness or the lack of selfishness is probably one of his strongest leadership qualities in my personal opinion. And again, hats off to him. He's done a great job coming here in Montreal and stepping into some big shoes that needed filling, and just the injuries.
He's very humble, and if you notice, a lot of the times, like, he always refers back to when he was a kid watching the pros and how that made him feel. So like he always has that thought of, like, treating the fans the way as if he was in their shoes, because he was at one point. So like I love his humbleness big time. It's great to see, for sure.
He seems like the kind of guy that if you catch him, if a big group of people catches him at the wrong time, like, this guy's gonna miss his plane because he has to stay and sign autographs for every single person.
Yeah,
their type thing.
But he'll be happy. But he'll be happy to do it.
Yeah, and he's not above, like, he's
exactly.
Yeah. Well, anyways, we can go on, but I think we painted a half decent picture as to his character.
But I think these two guys are going to be key for this rebuild, retool, this new structure and culture. I think Kent Hughes really wanted him for that reason, for him to be part of this great building culture in the room.